Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome on this rainy Thursday. Good to see everybody. We do have some guests, but we will. This is a sort of a Valentine's theme. We don't have anything other than the slide presentation to indicate. But do not forget your special people in your life tomorrow, because tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Welcome to those zooming in. And I see Ron Leister. I see Marcia. Marcia, unmute yourself. Where are you actually?
I'm in Greenwood, Arkansas.
Oh, you're in Arkansas. I thought you were somewhere like in Istanbul or.
Well, I'll be in Istanbul this time. Now I leave on Sunday for Istanbul.
Okay. Well, welcome again.
For the Rotary Presidential Peace Conference.
Yeah, and you have a special. You were elected, weren't you?
I was just on Monday. I was elected as the president of the Ukraine-USA ICC, the Intercountry Committee. And so it seems like I've been working on it ever since, doing stuff ever since. And anyway, and also the first day of the peace conference is devoted to the ICCs. So it'll be a good conference to go to, the Rotary. Stephanie will be.
Well, let's give Marcia a real warm applause, everybody. Well deserved.
I'm bowing. Yeah, taking a bow.
By the way, an incredible volunteer you are, Marcia. Thank you for all your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you'll be in spirit at Terry White's house.
Yes, I will be.
Okay. And welcome, Chris Bradford and Steve Scher. Always good to see you. And it was so nice to see Steve in person last week. He exists. It's just this is not an AI. He actually is alive and breathing. You can unmute yourself, Steve, if you like. Can you figure that out?
It's good to see you, Ben. It's so good to see you, and thank you for your friendly welcome from the friendly Westwood Village Rotary Club.
There you go. And he gave my plug away, so we can go right to the next slide. Thank you. This is Valentine's Day. I was a little bit earlier, but it's a Valentine's Day thing. I had some issues, so I could not do what I wanted to do. And there was a committee, but it didn't happen either. So I'm going to welcome everybody. May you all have a special Valentine's Day tomorrow. And in that regard, let's move on. The magic of Rotary. Part of the magic of Rotary is what goes on in the background. I want to thank Tia for helping me put all this together. Thank you, Tia. Let's give Tia a warm applause. Because if it was up to me, I don't know if we have a slideshow presentation. You behave yourself, Terry. I want to thank Nancy Cohen for being such a great greeter. Welcome, everybody, and let's give her a warm applause. Phil Gabriel was supposed to be here to lead the pledge. You know what? I'll lead the pledge. Everybody stand up. The flag is to your left, your right, and repeat after, put your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The thought of the day. Christine, take your time coming up. Yeah, run. Come on, let's see you run. Okay, I'm sure it will.
Okay, here.
Okay.
It's funny because I just had discovered this morning, and then Ben asked for a thought of the day, and for context, I know a lot of us are not probably singers or musicians, but I lost my ability to sing a few years ago. I'm slowly getting it back. And I started to realize that the rhythm of our lives actually creates music that continues on in space long after we're gone. So I think we're all musicians. And the quote that I saw this morning that I really loved was from Adele out of the UK. And it said, and I thought this was good for our challenging times, keep your heart safe and your music dangerous.
Whoa, let's hear it up. By the way, can you repeat that one more time, please?
Keep your heart safe and your music dangerous.
Dangerous. Okay. That's to you, Ed. And keep your music dangerous.
No.
Speaking of which, Ed Gold. This could not be a dangerous song.
This could be more dangerous.
It was a pretty good segue.
I think it's going to be singing in the rain.
Okay.
We please stand. One thing about music, Gordon, is music soothes the savage beast.
Why are you looking at him?
He's the best looking.
Why not? Why not? I thought it was a savage beast. Yeah. Why don't you come up here, Gordon, please? We'll do a trio. Okay, we'll do a trio. All right.
Let's go that one.
Anybody else who wants to come up here and sing this? Come on up. Okay.
I thought we'd sing a patriotic song because Monday is President's Day. I thought it would be fitting, Tom. You don't mind if I call your name out, do you? To put on a hat from the Civil War.
That's right. Great.
Because this is a Civil War song.
I remember the Civil War quite well. Okay, so what was it like on the battlefield, Tom?
Well, I didn't actually, I wasn't in the army at the time.
I thought you said you remember it well. Oh my God.
This is the hat worn by the Blue in the Civil War. Mary Chevalier. Okay, let's give it a thing. Okay. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling down the victory's way, great wrath sword. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Glory,
Hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
And Ed, always a pleasure. I want to thank Jim Crane for being the windmill rider. Thank you, Jim. You don't know the difficult task in running a windmill. Mark Rogo does. Jim Crane. It's not easy. So thank you for stepping up. Visiting Rotarians and guests of Rotarians. I know, Mark, you have a special guest.
Hi, everybody. I brought my assistant, Barbara, and Barbara has volunteered.
I think Mark has volunteered Barbara.
Has been volunteered, okay. To take in all the RSVPs for this upcoming RIPE dinner meeting that we're going to have on Tuesday, the 25th, a week from Tuesday. If you want to come, it's reservations only. We encourage significant others, wives, husbands, girlfriends, mistresses, whatever.
Mistresses we don't want here. Keep them home. Don't speak for the, do not speak for the club.
And so you need to email, text, or call Barbara with your RSVP. You want to give your phone number?
No, Tia, what we're gonna do, we're gonna send out another notice with Barbara's information, RSVP to her.
And then you tell Barbara, we just got a card yesterday or today. That works, right? You can,
Yes. No vote. This is no Democrat. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do.
Yes.
We're gonna put Barbara's information, we're gonna send out to the invites again. Please RSVP at this number. Barbara's agreed to make name tags. We're gonna set up a couple of tables for registration. Terry, we have to talk about getting a tile or two for phones so we can take credit cards and process them immediately. You know, but that, I'll talk to you about it. It'd make life a lot easier for everybody.
What time is it? Is it dinner?
It's what it is. It's a cocktail hour. At 5 o'clock, it starts. It's going to 7:30, depending on how it all flows. This room is gonna be completely different. We hope to have I invited 5 other clubs or 4 other clubs. I hope to have 100 people here. We are having 5 or 6 past hors d'oeuvres, and we're gonna have our own bar. Mark has agreed to bring some wine, so we'll take advantage of it. They'll have glasses. Who would volunteer that can open up bottles of wine? Just keep it. Barbara, you'll do it? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Barbara, we don't have to worry about that. We just have to set up the bar. So let's go now to some other visiting Rotarians. Zach, stand up and introduce yourself.
I took it back at the wrong time.
Well, let's go to the other visit. Okay, stand up. Tell us your name.
Yeah, my name is Eric Guerrero. I own a little clothing store here in Westwood next to, There we are.
So this is your guest. So, okay. So what, is it a men's or women's clothing? Well, so talk about what it is.
Over this healing process, and he has a little store right around the corner from the coffee shop, and it is all like 80s vintage wardrobe, and it is like the best quality, like Patagonia, and I just had so much fun going to the store, and he ended up like kind of helping me figure out what to wear. I ended up cutting his hair. He's a really amazing local business owner, and he absolutely loves like the vintage wardrobe world, and I had so much fun going in there and finding like stuff I couldn't afford in high school. So that's my introduction.
So welcome. So yes. Oh, it's right where Val and Sam are.
So you walk towards the little Chevron station there and go left past the In-N-Out.
You're right next to the coffee shop you're talking about is Sam and Val are there, right?
Yeah, right on the.
Okay, got it. Nice.
So if you ever want to do like a rotary 80s music video?
When you use the word vintage, you're talking about old clothes, craft clothes, used clothes, spices.
So we have stuff there from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I say vintage, but we try to carry a little bit of all, like.
So are these used?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming. I hope you'll come again.
Like, as an example, a Christian Dior trench coat, a Christian Dior sweater, you know, very affordable prices. It's really fun. I always add something, almost always add something retro.
So Tom, you know where the In-N-Out Burger is?
Yes.
Go up, make a right-hand turn, and he's right there. Right there, literally on that side of the street. What's that? South side of the street. Next to the.
Across.
what's it, south of In-N-Out?
North.
North of In-N-Out, and then you make a right on the first street, Laconic. It's right there.
I'll take a look inside. My brother just threw me. He's a expound major at Austin.
Okay, let's go back to the meeting. Let's give them a round of applause. Now you've got a great plug. Okay. And Zach, introduce yourself. Is a Rotaractor.
I've been here a couple of times. My name is Zach. For those who don't know me, I'm Zach. I'm the treasurer for UCLA Rotaract, and I enjoy being here. It's always nice being welcome like this. So thanks.
So Zach, do you pronounce your name Rotaract or Rotaractors?
I think it's just the Rotaract Club, but the Rotaractors are the people who do the Rotaracting.
Oh, I trust you, but he introduced himself as a Rotaract, not a
Oh,
Rotaract.
part of UCLA Rotaract. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
I didn't,
That's why I asked.
I didn't pronunciate it very well. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, these are Rotarian birthdays for January that we did not talk about. On January 8th, Ron Leister was born. On January 27th, Dave Stover. On January 27th, Motion. Recent wedding anniversaries. Diane Good and Frank Smith, 35 years. Wow. Whoa. January 25th, Sunda and Mark celebrated the 29th. January 30th, Phil Gabriel and Lisa Chapman, 28 years. January 2nd, Bob Simon and his wife Amy, for 22 years. And January 15th, Sam and Val celebrated their 2 years. Let's give them all a horn. Yeah.
I just find it interesting that of those 5 couples,
None of them are here?
no, they both, the one uses a different name. The married,
Yeah, isn't that, I think our women are pretty,
5 out of 5.
that's right. That shows you the power of women. Yeah,
I already knew what Frank's.
yes, you know that for sure. Okay, let me talk about a project that's near and dear to me, because I've been involved in it significantly. The Safer Sifting Project is on Saturday. That's what we hand out all the kits that we put together at Barker Hangar at Santa Monica Airport.
Safter or safe?
Safer Sifting. Safer.
It does say Safter.
Safter. Okay, there's a typo. Okay, it's called Safer Sifting. Zach, are you and any of the Rotarians going to be?
We went last week. I'm going to try and be doing it this weekend as well.
Okay, so there's Friday for the putting it together, 12 to 3. And then there's the giving out from 3 to 5 on Saturday.
And we'll make the Saturday one because I have stuff at that time on Friday.
Okay. Thank you so much for your service. Yes, Chris, were you asking? No, okay. Anybody before we move on? Oh, so let's talk about this meeting with President-elect Mario Cesar Martin de Camargo. See, I've been practicing that one. The meeting will be held here, right in this room. It'll look different because this can expand both ways. So if we have 100 people, that'll be great. And Terry, we're going to make your life easier in terms of the accounting.
I won't be here.
You won't be here? All right, well, we'll talk about that tile because that would be helpful. Because then Barbara can take people at the door with a credit card. It goes into the account. Okay. Now, one other thing, Dave Stover isn't here, but I want to just let everybody know that Thursday, February 27th at Uni High, we're going to be judging the pageant of arts competition. How many people here plan on going, volunteering? Okay, perfect. So do me a huge favor, text Diane Good and let her know. Because we're judging 3 different classifications. One is the arts, dance possibly, and then music. So we'll give you more information as time goes on. So thank you for all of your service. Now, I am not pronouncing this name, but the presentation isn't creative agent.
Wait,
Yes,
that's not bad.
yes,
Before we continue,
okay.
I heard a rumor that you have bought a new car.
Oh, yeah, I did. It's politically, it's one of those things when you say it, I want you to know I don't agree with the politics of the gentleman I bought the car from. I bought a Tesla. So Terry, you're gonna find me. How many?
I think.
100. No.
I think it should be an extra zero.
No. Yes, the president cannot be fined. No, I don't. I'm going to volunteer for something else that's even more special that I can't announce right now. It's not a baby. It's not, I told Diane, soon to be.
Did you get your money back on the other car?
I did not get my money back. I will. They're giving me a check tomorrow. Yes, they'll total that. So my car was lemmoned out. That's why I turned it in, my Genesis, believe it or not. And now a Tesla. I'm going to try a Tesla, see if that works. But it seems every 2 years I get a new car. It's given to me. I don't know why. So I'll touch everybody else's. Yes.
President Ben,
Yes.
congratulations on your purchase of an American car.
Oh.
What a patriot. And along with Chris's idea of fining you, it's a normal thing. Past president can fine presidents. That's a new rule.
And now it's not in the rule. Jerry, we'll talk.
Let me know that when I referred Ben to buy a Tesla, Tesla gave me a referral bonus of $1,000, which I will donate to the club in your name.
Oh, you see? Oh, okay.
Thanks to Mr. Musk's policy of doing this.
Okay. There you go. So, Elon Musk.
That's the fine.
So that's the best fine of all, $1,000. There you go. I didn't know that. Thank you, Peter Moore. Let's move right along. I'm going to say her name to me is Denise, but Tom's going to try this. And it's not, the presentation isn't creative aging. I read it wrong. It's about poetry, right? Why poetry matters. And Tom Barron, come up and introduce.
Okay. Now, I have made a number of introductions at this club of various speakers over the years, but there's nothing like this one. Today, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a very talented woman, Denise, AKA Gubnit Ni Dhuinn, something like that. I'll let her tell you the correct pronunciation. I'll just call her Denise. Since my lack of understanding foreign languages, I have trouble with her pseudonym, Gubnit Ni Dhuinn. I will let her explain this as she goes on, but the name I cannot pronounce. Denise is a very accomplished woman. She holds an undergraduate degree and postgraduate degrees in literature and languages from Trinity College in Dublin, as in Ireland, not Ohio, and Oxford University in England. She has led the 826 LA program at the Hammer Museum, Poetry to Save the Planet. Create a list of 40 questions for screenwriters and has over a decade of lecturing at Ivy League institutions. Denise currently teaches a creative aging program at the Denise currently teaches a course entitled Comprehending Life Through the Medium of Poetry in the creative aging program at the Wallis Annenberg Center for the Performing Arts. Now, just as a dumb accountant that I am, I cannot comprehend life through poetry. But then again, I'll bet Denise could not pass the CPA exam.
I'm sure you're right.
But we'll see as
Gubnit, born and bred in Ireland, explain why poetry matters.
Quite a lovely introduction. Everybody can be okay. Does this need to be turned up?
No, I think we're
Hey,
good.
turn it up a little bit.
Okay. Will you show me how to turn it up?
No, over here. No, over here.
Hello? Better? Lovely. So you have the double bonus of having an Irish accent. And when people like the sound of the Irish accent, sometimes the words can get a bit caught up. And so if you feel that I'm speaking too quickly, just maybe like raise your hand delicately, or you can flag me down. So this talk is entitled Why Poetry Matters. And the thesis is set so that you can begin to consider how to incorporate poetry into your lives. Between the folds of the lines of poetry, there's hope and there's light. And Lord knows right now, in all areas of our lives, we need hope and light. The majority of the people in the world have had a bad experience with poetry. And one of the reasons for that is because they may have been dealing with a teacher for whom it just seemed all so completely apparent, and that they weren't taught it in a way that they could nurture their own understanding of the rhythm and the language and the delight. And they'd be banging their heads off the wall thinking, what is it? Why can't they just say it plainly in English? Which leads me to the first poem that I'll recite for you today. And it really very clearly describes the difference between how we function on a day-to-day basis in our generic exchanges by comparison to what the poet would have said, what the poet would have thought, what the poet would have written. The poet's objective is to try to communicate and to inspire resonance, emotional resonance in the reader. You'll know the expression, what comes from the heart goes to the heart. We all know inauthenticity when we meet it. No matter how maybe delightful and pleasant and cheery or, well accomplished somebody appears to be, if there's something just a bit off, you just know it's not the real deal. Poetry has to be the real deal for it to have the absolute effect that the poet wanted to have. That's where they craft it. Basically, there's a breadth of craftsmanship, craftsmanship that goes into poetry. But to underscore my first point about the difference between using our day-to-day language and the poet's perspective on sharing their use of language, I'm going to read you a poem called But in Poetry, that's the title, But in Poetry, by Lawson Langston, a living poet, a living American poet. And I'd like to address the title to start with, because when you start a title with a conjunction like and or but or because, it suggests that actually it's a response, perhaps a retaliation, but it's a continuance of an exchange. So if somebody says but in poetry, it's as if, what, you mean in the middle? Here? Not better? Stage directed. If somebody starts with the title but in poetry, it's as if they're on the front foot in defense of poetry. So I'm going to read this to you now. And I want you to listen very closely to the two segments of each of the stanzas, because it starts with the English, as we would express ourselves on a daily basis, and then it goes into the world of the poet. So, But in Poetry by Lawson Langston. In English we say, I miss you. But in poetry we say, I trace the shade of your absence in the spaces where your laughter used to linger. And the echoes of you fill the hollow hours. In English we say, I don't know how to let go. But in poetry we say, I carry you in my chest like a stone, heavy and yielding, and carved with the sharp edges, of what once was. In English, we say, I feel lost. In poetry, we say, the compass of my heart spins wildly now. Its needle drawn to places it can no longer call home. In English, we say, I wish it were different. But in poetry, we say, I water the garden that could have been with tears, waiting for flowers that refuse to bloom. In English, we say, I hope you're happy. In poetry, we say, may the sun that warms your days be as kind to you as the first kiss of dew on the dawning night upon the leaves of the love every once made love under. In English, we say, you hurt me. But in poetry, we say, you planted thorns in my chest with hands I once trusted, and now every breath feels like an apology I shouldn't owe. In English, we say, I wanted to stay. But in poetry, we say, I lingered at the edge of your world, a star burning brightly, unnoticed in your vast, indifferent sky. In English, we say, I'm trying to move on. But in poetry, we say, I untangle your name from my veins each morning, only to find it woven into my dreams again at night. In English, we say, I'll be okay. But in poetry, we say, I can't. Stars can catch the light. With poetry, I write paths through gardens of grace, with words and waves my body dare not go as a whole. So I think you see the difference. That's a poem that affects people either differently, in the sense that they feel a profound shift within themselves, or a call to creativity, or they recoil feeling, well, that's a load of old nonsense because that's completely extreme and who expresses themselves in that way anyway. But I'm using the extreme difference between generic exchanges, which are perfectly standard secular exchanges on a daily basis, and the angle at which a poet enters into their response to something that occurs in the world. Billy Collins is a very famed poet in America. He tries to look at the most banal of things, whether it's his dog lolloping around or a simple orange in the light. And he will give you a story. And you will come out at the end of the poem, primary stage, often of just one page in his case, and you will feel that you have had not only a journey, but you have had a shift within yourself because suddenly you've turned an angle to perceive the world in a different way. The case that I would like to make is that poetry is important in our lives. And even if you've had a bad experience with poetry, maybe somebody hasn't taken the time to explain to you that it takes time to explain poetry to yourself, for you to go in and try to understand what is the poet up to. But you would have been introduced to poetry from a very young age, and you wouldn't necessarily have known that it was poetry. Lullabies, if you were lucky enough that a parent or a guardian sang to you, or children's rhymes, or when you were in the school ground, games children would have played, like Ring Around the Rosie, all those kind of things. They always had a rhyme and a beat and a kind of consolatory sense to them in the pattern. So the case I'm trying to make is try to make time on a daily basis. A lot of people meditate nowadays as part of kind of an understanding of well-being. Before it was considered woo-woo, but now it's kind of a daily practice. It's as simple as when you make your cup of tea or coffee or matcha or hot milk, cocoa, whatever it is in the morning time. Say to yourself, okay, that process might take 5 minutes. We're trying to find a poem. During that 5 minutes, whether while it's boiling or while you're drinking, that you can read that poem. And then carry that poem with yourselves for the day as a talisman. And I guarantee you it has magical qualities. And the reason that it does is that suddenly you have kind of like You have a carapace between you and the world. Some people go to poetry for spiritual, I wouldn't say salvation, but a type of solace. Other people go for a sense of, creative enterprise and to get their neurons dancing in a creative way. And other people for a mere sense of ritual, which is incredibly helpful. During the question time, I'm happy to respond to questions as to other ways you might incorporate it into your lives. How am I doing for time?
Fine.
Fine? Okay.
Yeah, we're good. I just wanted to ask you, what is that word?
Talisman. Thank you for asking. Okay, so I'm going to spool that to James Joyce. If any of you have read Ulysses, and you know the hero of Ulysses is a Jewish man, Bloom. He carried a potato in his pocket as a talisman. Talisman is usually like an amulet, something that you kind of hold on to, that it can act as a form of protection, or something that is inspired with goodness for you, but it represents something very specific to the individual.
So is that a talus?
Talisman.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good question, because obviously I have an accent. In spite of many years I've lived in America. So we can debate the case for poetry when you ask the questions, etc. But I wanted to follow up my previous one with this other poem, actually written by a student of mine. I run a course at the Wallis, the Annenberg Center for the Arts in Beverly Hills, and they have a division which has courses that educates people from the age of 55 to, I kid you not, almost 100. People vital, engaged, smart, switched on, retired, like most of you. And not only has it provided a tremendous community, but also the classes that they range are just terrific. But I'm not here to proselytize for them, that's only by extension to share the course that I chose to give there was called Contemplating Life through the Medium of Poetry. So there's a lot of philosophy in there as well.
People that are watching you on Zoom would like it to be towards the podium.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
so what's
they can't see.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I was moved.
No, keep on going.
So where am I now?
Right, go to the podium. Oh, keep on going. There you go.
So I'm back where I started. Okay, I'm good under direction. Okay, so back where I started. So I'm going to read this second poem, and this is actually was by one of my students. A remarkable one. Perhaps she's 70, who knows, who cares, pointed she signed up for the class. It's a select group of between 10 and 12 people. Now, the Annenberg, Wallis, they have a whole host of classes, obviously not just mine. But what I've been very engaged by is how these people chose my particular class because they wanted to incorporate poetry into their lives in a helpful way. Not a distancing way, but a way that even if they never read a poem in their lives, I'm not a mathematician. It's, as I said, Tom, being a CPA, that's another language for me entirely. If you want to appreciate the merits of poetry. So this woman is called Connie Johnson. And the title of her poem is Why It Matters. And it is definitively why poetry matters. And she starts with a poem quote by Lucille Clifton, and it says, poetry is a matter of life, not just a matter of language. That's pretty potent. Poetry is a matter of life, not just a matter of language. So you see the kind of survival technique in there, because we go to poetry for solace, for joy, at important times like weddings, funerals. I've read at so many events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, parties, for 3-year-olds, people getting married, and in different languages. And you just find the room moves in a different way when it's a poem, because we're expecting something deeper from a poem. Why It Matters by Connie Johnson. And she also starts with a conjunction and, so she's leading into her answer. And we keep what we love and what we loved most alive through poetry. We move the molecules in a room. We give ourselves goosebumps. We weep. We translate emotion. We tell stories that only we can tell. We make sense of pain, grief, and longing and desire, and what we need most in life. We say the unsayable. We attempt to heal the unhealable, the intense feelings, the love with nowhere to go. Our language resonates, transforms, and carries weight about all that is fragile, that is vital, that is mystifying in this life. This life. This life. Poetry. Why does it matter? Why do we love? Why do love or beauty or faith matter? Poetry encompasses everything, and it matters as long as life itself matters. And that again is by Connie Johnson. So those are two poems to make my case that I wanted to share with you. I can continue going, but I know that there's a time frame, so yeah. It's encouraging.
So what I'll do,
Yes.
you look at me, I'll give you a 5-minute to the questions. And then,
That sounds grand. Okay.
You'll have about 20 minutes.
yep,
You see?
You'll have about 20 minutes if you.
20 minutes.
Oh, I thought I had 20 minutes altogether.
No, you have one, it's 110, it's 20 minutes total, so 10 minutes.
Let her go.
Okay. John, do you want me to keep going on that?
Go.
Okay. So language for a poet is the same as paint for a painter. Sir John Lowry, who was a magnificent portrait painter in Ireland, he said, painting is silent poetry. Painting is silent poetry. And the next time you go to a gallery, and I would plug the Hammer Museum because I love it so much, and it's on our doorstep, or indeed here at the Hello, where they always have a very interesting range of art when it comes to the art exhibitions. Maybe walk up to a poem and say, what does this inspire in me that I might write about if you're inclined to write? Or what does it inspire me to think about that was inspired me by poetry? There are so many conjunctions between the arts. We hear about the life scientists a lot now. Trust of incorporating poems into your life can expand you enormously. The Aurora Institute, which is a worldwide humanitarian organization. The last time I had an event here, I spoke to this man who is a reporter and he always goes to war-torn nations. And to keep mind, body, and soul together, he said that his wife and he have a ritual, back to the ritual nature of poetry. And taking it from a secular perspective, but some people see that it has a sacred quality too. And they choose a poem before they say goodnight to each other, because he's on one horse plant, she's on the other, and he's following war-torn nations as a journalist. And they'll have a poem that they will both read at the same time in the morning, wherever they are. So they have a connection, like a heart connection to one another. And then in the evening, when they have their sort of goodnight poem, they'll discuss the poem and what it meant to them. And in what aspects of their life, actually, coincidentally, it had a kind of correlation to. He found this incredibly helpful. And I spoke to a lot of the human rights activists who were there. Every single one of them said they have a poetic practice. And they used that term, a poetic practice. They said they never really shared it with anybody because they thought they didn't want to become the dweeb. And I said, well, look, if it's cool to meditate nowadays, it's very good to be open about your poetry practice. Because if you sit down beside somebody at a dinner and you ask them, tell me, what book are you reading? Sometimes it opens them up to, well, let me share, because they're on to chapter 5. And maybe you finished the book, but you couldn't get beyond chapter 5, or you skipped chapter 5. It's a terrific opener. You might have to know somebody a little bit better before you say, what's your favorite poem? But what's your favorite poem opens the door to the most amazing conversations. Because usually somebody has a favorite poem because, again, back to resonation. It resonated with them at a very particular time of their lives. When they found something, when they lost something. When they found someone, when they lost someone. When they needed support. When they needed to go back to a ritual back to something that held ballast for them in the past. Words can support us enormously. And when you have the heft of a poet who has taken out the chisel and has chipped away, a la Michelangelo, at the marble to find the body of the slave within, that's what poets are constantly doing. Even if they don't have the thesaurus by their side, they're constantly connecting with the thesaurus in their heads, because they want to give you the best possible value that language can bring you. When you choose the most apt word, the most apposite word, it just clicks in perfectly as if another aspect of the puzzle is fitted into place. There's a luxury about having a poem that you love. Most people have a favorite color. Most people have a favorite song or a favorite genre of song. They might have a favorite author. So perhaps get into the groove of trying to decide who is your favorite poet. Now, I'm not going to limit you there, but even just as part of your personal sovereignty to have a favorite poet, that you feel you can walk into a room in any environment, and if somebody says to you, would you care to share your favorite poem? You don't have to learn it off by heart, but I grew up in the old country where you literally had to learn these things off by heart. Which is not necessarily a bad process, because it helps the brain, assimilate details and expect to have to learn things long term. But the case for poetry is this. I've never met somebody who said to me that poetry has reduced joy in their lives. I've met many people who have said that poem that I stuck on my bathroom mirror and I washed my teeth to every morning got me through the breakup, got me through the fear, prepared me for the joy, opened my heart to, inspired a relationship, brought them into deeper contact with themselves. There's a very deep connection when you're creating anything. For those of you who are business people, when you create things, you're going to a deeper part of yourself. Yes, you're going to a chamber of your mind. How am I going to do this? How am I going to put it together? How are the pieces going to slot into place? Well, the creative process, like music, your favorite song, where will it hit you? It will hit you in the heart. The mind is the part of it. It's the heart and the mind. So now I'm ready for questions.
I've never, ever heard someone explain the difference between English and poetry. Amazing. I came across very clear on that. Do they train you at Trinity or Oxford in the understand how poetry is written, shall we say, or from difference between saying something in short? Because I think Americans are ignorant of poetry, but are you trained in that? And when you professors, undergraduate?
Absolutely, and I'd have to take you to task with plenty of great American poets, but also I have a very close American friend. You're very welcome now. You're very welcome. I understand, yes. And I can come in. There were plenty in my class. I did a master's, and it was called an MPhil, and it was on Anglo-Irish literature. So it was Joyce, Beckett, Yeats, Wilde, and Shaw. And what amazed me about the Americans was they would come in and they would say to my professor, our professor, so Professor Kelly, and I was sitting there, like, the understanding was that we would revere our professors and you couldn't really kind of counteract anything. And I kind of allowed to become entrusted these young Americans, who were all very young, and they would sort of like negotiate. And it was so interesting because I had been trained, taught, but also had an instinct to decipher in the way that you have an instinct to decipher with numbers. I have an instinct to decipher words and sketching. And I love to take out colored pens when I get a fresh poem and I'll work it out with the music and the internal rhymes and the external rhymes. Again, the sketching, whether or not whether this metaphor is very similar. What this poem is trying to impart. What is hidden until a certain moment detonates one idea against another. I'd say a lot of line poetry instinctively comes from whoever brought it into your life. So if you have a nanny or a granny or a mummy or a guardian or a daddy or whoever it was who placed you on their knee and started singing jingles, so there's a warmth and a comfort there. Then I agree, as it goes on, it can get into kind of tough territory. But the nice thing about poetry, for those of you who use your phones regularly, on a daily basis, you can be reading a haiku, which is very few lines, 3 lines in all. And you can set it up on your phones that you delivered a haiku every morning. And that's not even 5 minutes you're going to give yourself. But it's the juxtaposition of words against one another that I guarantee you will detonate thoughts in your own mind, and you'll start becoming a more creative thinker. So if I can offer that to you, the poetry will help you in your life as a creative thinker. Also give you solace and joy and depth and recognition. Because people write poems about things they have endured or enjoyed. And we are all human beings. Sometimes you'll be amazed at how right they get it for you. Benjamin.
I give you a phrase. Can you make a poem? Can you create a poem right?
I don't proselytize creative writing necessarily, although that is partly what the course is that I teach, but it's only because this particular group of students want it. Yes, but I'm much more about trying to encourage poems tool for contemplating life. And one of the reasons for that is you can read tracts on philosophy and they're, door jammers, and that's fantastic. I wouldn't knock anybody's academic work. But there's a simple way of incorporating poetry into your lives, and that is, as I say, for those of you who are ready to do it on your phones, get a haiku app and just have that delivered to you frequently. And if you're somebody who needs to check your phone regularly, it's there. For others, I could prescribe a sonnet. In England, there's this great business this guy set up, and it's called Poetry Pharmacy. And instead of going to a psychiatrist, this one woman had been in psychiatry for 30 years. She started doing this, and she said it's self-help for her. Because she knows that every single poem she'll go to will have been written by a human being who at some point in their life has known them, or not about this, thousands, millions. One of those poems that I think soften her so perfectly. And it gives you a kind of buoying sense that there's another soul in the world that understands. And another soul in the world that uses the medium of poetry to translate their pain, their joy, their delight, their enthusiasm onto prime real estate of 1 page or 2 pages, depends if it's an epic ode, to help. It's a very personal exchange. Yes?
I read recently the United States has a poet laureate.
Absolutely.
And do other countries have a similar position?
Yes, they do.
Who selects it for the United States?
My understanding is that would be, I don't know if the federal government is involved in that. My guess is that there would be somebody within that department who would have a say. There are many poetry societies in America, chief amongst which, and then there's the National Endowment for the Arts, that would have a huge amount to do with that. And actually, there was a woman called Joy Harjo, who was the penultimate, as in the previous one, and she was an American Indian, or a First Nations poet. And what was very interesting about that was, she didn't make it a mission to bang her drum for. She made it a mission to say, I am a human being, I am a woman who writes poetry that I hope resonates with you. And because of that, we all learned a huge amount about, reservations, the American Indians, the incorporation, or the issues that had occurred, and history, etc. So you're going to learn about history. You're going to expand your vocabulary. You're going to impress your friends. You never know when you're going to need a love poem in your back pocket. You never know when you're going to need a goodbye poem. When you don't know how to say goodbye to somebody. Yes.
Another quick question. Would you call the works of Shakespeare somewhat poetry?
Absolutely. Yes. I am by intelligence. Back here? Is this it?
I have a question.
Hey, John.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
could I just finish this other question first, though? Because you were talking about Shakespeare. Shakespeare did iambic pentameter. He also has his sonnets, myriad sonnets, all of which are absolutely beautiful. And the way that he writes his plays, that's why they're actually easy to learn. The language is tough, but the rhyme is so comforting. So yes, John.
Would you call James Joyce a poet?
Interestingly enough, the way he uses language has a beautiful cadence to it, and it has a tremendous musicality. And in fact, he wrote Ulysses specifically with the voice of a singer in mind, because he had a beautiful voice, as did his father. So if you're reading Ulysses, have your copy and try to listen to it at the same time, preferably read by an Irish accent. An unexpurgated edition, so that it's not an abridged edition. So you can see how it goes up and down, because we do go up and down a lot. I'm trying to keep it even here, because I'm in the Irish accent goes up and down. Yes, he did. All his work was very poetic. Not the earlier pieces, but when he gets into the realm of Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake, absolutely. And you can tell that just by the scansion and the internal rhymes, etc., and the metre that he uses.
Are you at the Hammer Museum?
No, I'm at the Hillel Institute here.
Oh, I thought I heard you at the Hammer, yeah. Because they
No, I
have
go there frequently.
they have an event every year on June 16th celebrating Ulysses Bloomsday. Yeah. I think that might be a good talk to have at our Rotary about that issue, you know. Amen.
Well, by the way, John, if we have the time, we'll see if she's available and we'll have her back.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. I'm sure you know a lot about James Joyce, don't you?
I do.
Being from Trinity College, yes.
It's one of my areas. But back to the point about poetry, he published what was called a chap book, after a pamphlet, a chap, C-H-A-P book, old-fashioned terms, what they used then. And it was called Poems, but it was spelled P-O-M-E-S as opposed to P-O-E-M-S, because he liked to play with letters as well as language. Poems, penny each. And the joke was that basically, you know, if you're going to be an impoverished anything, you may as well be an impoverished poet, because you're going to be so impoverished that if you're lucky enough to get a penny for each poem, at least it'll be worth something, you'll get something for your writing. So poems, penny each. But he wasn't as well known for those poems, nor was he as well known for the one play that he wrote called Exiles, which is kind of dull and thudding. But all his other writing is magnificent. Yes, thank you, John, for the question.
So we have time for one more question.
I would love to know what your name means and if you could teach us how to say it.
Oh, certainly. It's very simple. So, on a darker note, I've been stalked a lot both online, and I'm sure many people have experienced this, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and in person. So any forward-facing materials, anything to do with marketing and anything that I do, I use a different name. Gubnit is a very old-fashioned Irish name. It's very rare you come across it, but a very dear doctor friend of mine in New York, I remember at dinner one time, he was talking about an anti-Gubnit from Galway, and I thought it was such an hilarious name. And Dunn, D-U-N-N-E, you'll have heard that name. D-U-N-N-E, Irish name. In Irish, it's Ni if I'm female, O if I'm male, Ni, basically born out, Goon, D-H-U-I-N-N. So Gubnit should be Goon. It has a nice lyrical ring to it. There is no other Gubnit Goons in the world, I've checked.
It's so unique, I wanted some Gubnit. Gubnit Ni Dhuinn.
Ni Goon. Think of Goon, like goo, goo, goo.
So you don't pronounce the D.
You pronounce it D-H. So in the Irish language, D and H together, pronounce it G.
That's a great segue. Let's give her a round of applause. And appreciate you. And we definitely would like to have you come back.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Before everybody leaves, hold on. I'm going to bring back when we got good photo.
My lovely kids, thank you, everybody. My lovely kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next week, this is very personal speaking to me. How I hold on. Tom Barron, you will be very happy to know who's the speaker next week. Does that name ring a bell?
It does.
Okay, so my cataracts were done by this gentleman. My wife's cataracts were done. He's not coming to pitch a business either, and Tom. But he's going to talk about how ophthalmology and artificial intelligence is now changing how things are done. Exciting. I said to him, you know, I don't see the funny side of you. He told me a couple of jokes. So he's going to bring his funny side to talk about something that maybe isn't so funny to people. Title, it's next week. You know what? It's next week. It's the 20th. It's 20th. Because we're not meeting on the 27th, we're meeting on the 25th. And guess what? It is time at 1:30. There's no quote at the end, is there? Okay. So there is no quote. And have a safe journey home, everybody. And meeting is adjourned.